Welcome into this episode of Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff with you. Good to have you along. This episode brought to you by Aftershave Barbering. And we're joined today by Coach Justin Roland with football. And Coach, game in the books. And one thing that is the old coach's cliche is you grow most between your first and second weeks. Well, you guys have a bye in between your first and second weeks, the way the schedule worked out. But let's first talk about what mostly you learned over in Eden and what you're trying to put in to get better over these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's an interesting time because you get a lot of old guys say, you get better from week one to get week two, your biggest progression, and we get a week of work. As far as Enid, I think you got to give them a lot of credit. We felt like we would be a work in progress on our offensive line. That was evident. I was pretty proud of the quarterbacks that stayed in there and stayed tough. Johnson, that's his first varsity live action. I thought he handled it well, but definitely a ton of room for improvement.
Well, and one thing, I think with high school players, it's like this. You play college, you were there on a pro team around it as well. Emotions are things that can get the best of you, and it's hard the younger you are to regulate those emotions. You're supposed to get better the older you get. Now, that's not always the case, as some people would think, but when it comes to that, you have a kickoff return for a touchdown. The score is 22-10. It could have been 22-17 at that point. Well, at that point, you could just tell the momentum goes completely away, and the air is out. And the next play is a pick six, and all of a sudden you're down 19 points instead of being down 5 points.
Yeah.
It's hard to recover for something like that in high school ball.
It is, and depending on how you're designed offensively and defensively, we want to run the football and throw the ball consistently on offense. So we're probably not built very well to come from 2-3 scores down. But a young group like we got, a lot of first-timers, it was devastating for them. That's a 14-point swing. But at the same time, you did a lot of good. If we make a few less mistakes, I think that game's way more competitive than the final score.
No, I think the game was competitive. I had people ask me that didn't watch and said, was it competitive? I go, yeah. A couple of key things happen. It's going to be a totally different ball game. You're right there in it, maybe at the end to win it when it's all said and done. But that's the way the sport is, right? I mean, you've played it for and coached it now for a long time. I mean, one or two plays can be the difference in losing 21 points sometimes.
No doubt. One or two plays and one or two players, we actually, with the bye week, it's good for us because we get 3 or 4 kids back that didn't play week 0. But like I said, I mean, credit to Enid for making the plays, but it was good for us because you're trying to explain to those kids in practice, hey, it's going to get hot and heavy out there. It's going to get tough. You're going to react a certain way, start preparing yourself, but there's nothing like the real thing to open their eyes up.
Yeah, one of the things I thought you mentioned with the quarterbacks, Johnston, I thought threw the ball well on the little kind of stop routes on the outside, and I thought AJ had probably a really, really good ball game based on him being able to catch it, get upfield, get a couple extra yards. So I thought that was maybe a highlight, and being able to throw that ball sideline to sideline opens things up in the middle a little bit too.
Absolutely. AJ, I don't think he dropped the ball. I don't think he gave up a single pass at corner, and that's new also. We got a couple guys going both ways. One of the best games I've seen Goose play so far. Lonzo Big Goose, our tailback, and we're rotating guys there, so it looks a little bit different. But I think Johnston's accuracy and timings is what he does really, really well. And with guys like AJ and Ryder that catch the ball really well, man, spin over that outside shoulder and get some extra yards.
Yeah, and you mentioned Big Goose. He just has this little natural ability. I look at him as he's a patient runner. Like he doesn't hit it too quick. He kind of just sits there, and he has such a good little kind of cut to find the hole. So I was pleased with what you saw out of him as well.
Absolutely. Goose is very, very quiet kid, pretty soft-spoken, but he's extremely powerful. And I don't know if right off the bat when you look at him you see that, but he picks his holes well, starting to run over his pads a little bit more. But he's always had really good vision as a tailback and patience.
All right, and back to the offensive line. Mm-hmm. We knew that was going to be something that these guys are going to have to grow. You got a lot of younger guys up there, and Blaze McGahey he's your kind of anchor, but he's been starting as a freshman, but he's still only a junior when you look at it, right?
Yeah.
So this is a group. How do you assess how they did? And naturally, there's going to be a lot of room for improvement as the more snaps and experience they get. But how did they do, and where can they get better?
Absolutely. You go right to left. Aiden Hargraves is a 15, 16-year-old kid that has never played before. Blaze got a lot of experience at right guard. Cooper Roland, 15, 16-year-old kid, never played before. Left tackle Seth Sanchez is a senior, never been a starter before. And then at left tackle, we actually had an injury. Mason McCleary, I think, was going to be the guy that started. He went down with a hip that week in practice. So the left tackle was a kid that we weren't even sure if we were going to have this year. So it was a patchwork deal, but it's something, O-line's something that you can only learn from experience. And if I was disappointed at all with them, it was just a little bit of our fight. I know they're tough, they're a big team, strong team, but let's do what we can do. If you watch our side of the ball, our D-line, they were doing everything they could, from holding us to mauling us to keep off their quarterback. But it's a work in progress that'll get better as we go.
Yeah, and let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball, because the defensive side of the ball, you see those points put up, and you're like, maybe it's not as good as you wanted, but there's some circumstances that happened to put the defense. You had the punt that was partially blocked, went out of bounds, so they had a short field. Then you had the interception. So there's points there where they didn't maybe have to work like you wanted. But overall, what was your assessment of the defense? From what I saw, I think there's a lot of spots maybe you can get better, but I thought pretty good for a first performance.
Yeah, it's funny because that's where we bring back the most kids. Now, kind of like the O-line, we had two pretty pivotal guys that didn't go Friday, which makes a difference. Not so much immediate in your face, but as the game goes on, they give us an opportunity to stay strong on our D-line. But I thought we fought well on our D-line. We got to get off the field on 4th and 3rd down. Yeah, absolutely have to, and credit them. They have a very high-level passing game. It's very you can predict it, but you got to stop it, So being able to force the ball down the field, I was really proud of our corners. Luke Larson, he's a guy at corner. He's never played. He hasn't played since he's a freshman. So there was going to be growing pains there. But we gave ourselves some opportunities to win the game and be in the game. We just got to make sure we keep honing in on it.
Yeah, so you put that one, you learn from it, go forward. No game this week because it's the off week after playing week 0. Not the way they would like to in the ideal world schedule it, but that's the way it worked out. But that means Will Rogers will be the home opener coming up a week from this Friday. And I know you're working more on yourself this week, but I'm sure you have a little bit of a glance to what Will Rogers, and I don't know if we'll talk next week or not. So just kind of tell us what you're looking at for that first home game against them.
Man, like you said, we're going to work on us. Don't know a whole bunch about Will Rogers. Bear Scott's their head coach, so they're going to be well coached. But just going to be a week where we continue to get better, keep finding things, finding strengths, finding weaknesses, but go in there and defend our home turf.
All right, and we're the interim coach. When you were coaching last year, got those wins, got the playoff win too.
Yeah.
But now you're the head guy, and you just had your first official game as the official head coach. So, what's it like to have that first one? I know you wanted to win. We all know that.
Right.
But what's it like getting that game now under your belt?
It's good. I think so many you don't understand the timing and the scheduling and how much that stacks up throughout the week. You're making every decision, when you're leaving, when you're eating, when you're getting dressed, when you're getting out on the field. But we got a good group of assistants. But what it'll help me with is now I have a routine. I have something that worked as far as getting the kids on the buses, getting them fed, things like that. It's a small thing. I thought we did a decent job of clock management. That was new to me. You'll notice we took a couple timeouts, especially on the touchdown play, let the clock bleed down. That kind of thing is the biggest thing. Football's football, but everything rides on you now.
Yeah, and anything you kind of learn through that first week and that first game that you can, I mean, it may be something you can't define, but is there something maybe you can define going forward that you're going to take from that and be better?
Absolutely. The personnel groupings, for me, when I was a D coordinator, it was very, very simple. I think as the head guy, now you're looking at defense, special teams, offense. We can get better there. I can get better there. I think that kind of thing, just the small stuff. Nothing really big, the small stuff, but all that little stuff will get easier and easier, and you learn from it as you go.
All right. Well, Coach, appreciate the time. I know we'll talk to you again a lot more this season, but let's go out and, lick our wounds on this one.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Get out there and see if we can't get our first win against Will Rogers home coming up a week from this Friday. And, man, best of luck, and look forward to seeing it there on the whole field coming up in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Thank you, buddy.
Coach Justin Roland, this episode of Coach's Corner has been brought to you by Aftershave Barbering. And that's going to do it for me. I want to say thanks to Chris behind the camera. Thanks to you for watching. Jordan Woodruff saying so long. And until next time, go Cats.